in a way, it does come back to coaching and introspection for me. There's a reason that I think people compare sellers to athletes a lot. And it's not just because there are a lot of former athletes that are sellers. I think it's because, much like many sports, so much of selling comes down to what happens outside of being on the phone or outside of being on the pitch or outside of being on the court. Sellers have to work on constant improvement and their mental game off the court, right? So I think the two things that separate top performers are that when top performers are off the phones, they spend more time in Gong or Chorus than pretty much anyone else. You can see it in the data. They spend so much time in these tools, not only listening back to their own calls, but listening back to other people's calls. Because why? Like all great athletes, they're trying to find some moves to steal, as they should. They're trying to add to their bag. They're trying to develop. So when we talk about putting that coaching cadence in place at UserGems, we recognized, okay, all of our best sellers are constantly peer reviewing and self-reviewing calls. Let's institutionalize it. So that's one. I think the second one is keeping yourself at a mental neutral. A lot of times sellers that struggle, they'll close a couple of deals and they'll be super excited. I mean, rightfully so. You closed a big deal. You should be excited for a bit. Try to give yourself like 24 hours to be overexcited. Because what happens if you're overexcited for a week? Now you take your foot off the gas. Now you're slacking off with other deals and you see those sellers are less consistent. When they're not closing those deals for that extended period, now they're just down in the dumps and now they're feeling super depressed and now they're reacting negatively to coaching because they're in their own heads. Whereas the best sellers, whether or not they close a huge deal or whether or not they're in a rut, the only thing that they're thinking about is, am I getting a little better today than I was yesterday? And for that reason, they're much more consistent because their mental game is not affecting their performance as much as someone who rides the highs and the lows of closing versus building.
I'll give my one big criteria, and it's ownership. The reps that take ownership of their development, that want to be coached, they want to get teaching, but if they're not going to use that as an excuse. They own their results regardless of external factors. My red flag for reps, whether I inherit them in my org or I'm interviewing somebody, is if they have an external locus of control. If they're like, well, to be successful, I need great onboarding. I need great marketing support. I need the best SDR. I need the best manager. I need the best sales enablement tools. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, if I put anybody in that perfect environment, they would do well. I'm looking for people that are going to say, look, like if I have product market fit, I hope I have other great things too. But if I have that, I'll make magic happen. I will own my success. I'm not going to be a victim of my circumstances. That's the rep I want to hire. The rep that has the laundry list of, well, I need this and this and this and this, and then I'll be successful. They're just going to be making excuses forever. Anytime they don't close a deal, it's somebody else's fault. Don't have enough pipeline, it's somebody else's fault. It's always somebody else's fault, and they're never going to do more than occasionally hit a quota. And then when they do hit quota, they're going to take all the credit in the world for it. And then when they don't, they're going to blame somebody else. So that's my big, that's a non-negotiable for me. If someone does not take ownership of their career, if I can flesh that out in the interview process, I will not hire them.